In a game highlighted by two teams with the inability to play defense, the Toronto Raptors take down the Sacramento Kings eventually 144-123 in a game where Malachi Flynn really breaks out in the NBA. So, can the Raptors use this as momentum to get a few victories in a row and get their season back on track? Let's get into it. Welcome to the Raptors Roundup on Amateur Hour Sports. This is the segment on the channel where we break down the Raptors game from the night before. We go through a brief overview of the game, we take you through a synopsis of proceedings, and then we go into three key takeaways that we can garner from the game and take with us for the future. But this is Amateur Hour Sports, the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 days a week. So if it is your first time here with me today, you like what you see, want more of myself talking about the Toronto Raptors in this vlog or video podcast style, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Show your support, join the movement of the channel. Thank you so much for all the support coming in very recently. So let's get right into the roundup of the game. So the Raptors eventually, yes, they do take down the Sacramento Kings despite starting very slow, uncharacteristic of this Raptors team to, close the game very well, but have a very bad start to the game. And, this is a game I will take this win, obviously. I'm going to say some negative things about the Raptors today, but I'm taking this win. When you're 1-6, you will take what you can get. The Raptors frustrated me quite a bit with the way they played. However, again, they eventually win by 21 points, so you can't be too upset about that. This game is highlighted by, the Raptors sharing the wealth on offense. A lot of guys getting it done. In particular, Fred VanVleet has been tremendous. Boucher was great. Terrence Davis, Siakam also had great games. But, this was a great game for Malachi Flynn to play because Kyle Lowry was not playing for personal reasons. I don't want to draw any conclusions about that. We'll see what happens with that, why he missed the game. But, bottom line, Kyle Lowry did not play, which gave Malachi Flynn a great opportunity to have more minutes, and he used those minutes. He broke out, started getting some shots, got his first NBA bucket finally, and, maybe he can move on with this and be a key figure in games going forward. So let's get into the synopsis of the game, starting with the first quarter, where we see Aaron Baines does not start and does not play in this game, and pretty much punishment for getting 0 points in back-to-back games, being a non-factor in back-to-back games. We see Alex Len take over in the starting five, and this just highlights the center troubles for the Toronto Raptors, and surely a trade is on the horizon for a better center. I mean, Hassan Whiteside is a guy who gets no minutes for the Sacramento Kings. That could be an interesting one to pursue for the Toronto Raptors. Also, maybe looking at a guy like JaVale McGee. Regardless, I think the Raptors need a center, and it showed last night when Baines got benched. But we carried on. We still started Len. There was no Kyle Lowry, obviously, for this game. And it shows we start very poorly. The Kings go out to a quick 8-0 run and 8-0 lead in the game. And eventually that lead turns into 20-7. The Raptors are not running in transitions. The Kings have made it a very big deal to push the ball in transition and attack the Raptors. They're shooting lights out. We're not contesting the shots, and it is going very poorly. And the rest of the quarter after 20-7 was just a blur of back and forth offense. Absolutely no defense. The Kings getting whatever they wanted. They eventually finished the quarter shooting 16 for 18 from the field, good for 82%. Now, I'm going to reiterate again, this is not a great Kings team, and the Raptors always allow their opponent to have their best shooting night of the season against them. And it's no longer a coincidence, well, what are you going to do? They're shooting this well. They're shooting 82%. That's obviously ridiculous. But the Raptors, every game, it's the same story. They're letting teams shoot very well. I think it's time to start putting a bit of the blame on the Raptors for always allowing teams to do that. Go up, contest shots. Don't let your guys get open shots in transition because it's the same thing every game. We love the Sacramento Kings, who are not a good team. 43 points in the first quarter. That was so ugly to watch. But in the second quarter, once we get going, the Raptors slowly start chipping away because they are the better team here. The better team than the Sacramento Kings, and the Sacramento Kings are just shooting like that, and the Raptors are letting them shoot ridiculously. But because the Raptors are having a great game on offense, it doesn't really matter how good the Sacramento Kings are doing on offense because the Raptors offense goes the other way and is consistently matching those numbers. And the Raptors are putting up a ton of points. They're allowing a ton of points, but we eventually tie up the game and we push forward. We're slowly building up a bit of an advantage against the Kings, but they're staying right with us because of their shooting. And the Raptors' inability to play defense in transition is highlighted again here as the Kings are really going for the jugular. We go with our small ball lineup because of our glaring issues in the center department. It was working quite well. Just for the lack of a better lineup, the Raptors went with OG Anunoby at the 5, Pascal Siakam at the 4, and Norman Powell had a great game. He usually plays well when he starts, so maybe one to consider in the future to start more games. But the Raptors played really small, and it was working because the game was so quick and in transition. But it's glaring the Raptors need a center. We're still recovering from that first quarter, but it's going better. We're spreading out the offense, and this game is just constant transition points back and forth for the Kings, for the Raptors. Now the Raptors, if you want to own that you're a good team on offense in transition, if you want to own that and make it a quick game like that, you still have to run on defense. You got to run back in transition on defense to stop the Kings from getting those easy buckets, because it happened so many times throughout the games. Like, if it is your game plan to make a game, happen in transition in a full court game, sure, that'll work for the Raptors because they're good in the full court. However, you need to be able to run back on defense and get your checks quickly if you're going to make the game like that. We are 56% of the field at halftime, which is great, but the Kings are 69% from the field. So clearly, contesting shots is a problem for this Toronto Raptors team. Fred is doing great on offense. Norman Powell is doing great on offense. But our defense, what has happened to this team, who was the second best defensive team last season, the team who kept other teams under 100 points? What has happened to us? 3 games in a row, teams very quickly got 100 points. And we got the win today, but it was ugly, and I didn't like the way we played. Get to third quarter, Boucher takes over that starting center spot, and I think that next game against the Warriors, we may not see Boucher because of the size of James Wiseman. However, in future games, I think Boucher may turn into the starting center for this team. I like him as the guy off the bench, but if Baines and Len are not going to be contributors, we may have to start Chris Boucher. He was great. Fred VanVleet was fantastic, as I've said already. We have great offense and horrible defense, and this is just like a bad game to watch for basketball nerds who are very keen on analytics and stuff, because the Raptors are playing so ugly, but they're just outscoring. I mean, obviously, every game you have to outscore your opponent, but without any defense being played, it's just whoever can rally up the most points as quick as possible, that team is going to win the game. Like, the Raptors turn on the defense. I'm thinking at this point, they turn on the defense, they are going to blow out this Kings team because they cannot stop our offense, but we can't stop their offense either. With both teams scoring at will, at least this Raptors team is more talented than the Kings, and the talent took over in the second half. Like I was saying in the intro, Fred VanVleet was great. Terrence Davis started being a big contributor. Chris Boucher was a big contributor at this point. Norman Powell throughout the game was hitting some big shots. Siakam as well had a great game for himself, eventually finished 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. We start pulling away, and then we get to the fourth quarter. This is where Malachi Flynn comes out hot to really start pulling away. Terrence Davis comes out hot in this quarter, again, to really start pulling away. And you know what? The Raptors players are smiling. They're smiling. They haven't smiled all season. They are happy. They're having a good time. They are getting their mojo back on the court because that hasn't happened yet this season. The guys were happy to be out there, happy to be participating. In other games, there's been no energy, no heart, no desire, but finally, maybe we needed this type of win to get ourselves back on track. We closed out well. We were the better team than the Kings, and we really showed it down the stretch. It was better after the first quarter in this game where we allowed 43 points, but this won't really be good enough against better teams. Fortunately, we were playing the Kings, and I'll take this win, especially for a 1-6 team. Now, 2-6 team, but this won't be good enough against good teams. However, I'm not one to be greedy here. Let's take our win. So let's move on to the 3 takeaways for this game that was just highlighted by no teams playing defense, just points and scoring at will. And in the end, the Raptors outscore the Sacramento Kings. The first key takeaway is that the bench stepped up. We didn't get the bench at all, really, in the Phoenix Suns game, but my goodness, did they step up in this game. Chris Boucher had 23 points, was fantastic. Terrence Davis finally had that breakout game on offense this season, 18 points. And Malachi Flynn, 12 points off the bench. This was the game he needed to get rid of those NBA jitters and hopefully push forward and be a key contributor for the Toronto Raptors in Kyle Lowry's absence. Got his minutes, and hopefully Malachi Flynn can prove to be a valuable asset for the main rotation going forward. Also, let's shout out Norman Powell. He started, but he usually is a bench player and had a very good game. I think at 23 points. So Norman Powell, props to him. Hopefully when he's back on the bench, he can continue to play like this. If not, I mean, Norman Powell statistically is great as a starter. The Raptors are statistically great when Norman Powell starts. Maybe we're going to have to move him into the starting lineup somewhere. The second key takeaway is that Siakam has put together 2 fantastic performances in a row. The game against the Phoenix Suns, he was scoring at will, but in this game against the Kings was everywhere on offense. Almost finished with a triple-double with 17 points, 12 assists, and 9 rebounds. And 12 assists for Siakam. Do not take that lightly. Siakam has been working on his playmaking, and it showed here. 12 assists does not usually reach those kind of figures. Very happy for him to put up another great performance. I mean, there were so many great performances that you don't really notice this one, but hopefully Siakam is really finding his feet and getting going in the NBA. I was saying before the season that, Siakam will probably struggle at the start, and hopefully, when we get to about 10 games in, he's going to get his feet under him, he's going to get back in rhythm, and hopefully this is what we're seeing here. Let's hope we can keep that going against the Golden State Warriors. The third key takeaway is that this performance, we won, but it won't be good enough against better teams. This was the Sacramento Kings. They are now 4-5. Obviously, they've got more wins than us, so, who am I really to be talking? But we know this is not a playoff team in the Sacramento Kings, so the Raptors will take these small victories, of course, but we know we have to be better in games like against the Golden State Warriors. Like, if we want to make that a shootout against the Golden State Warriors, I'm going to tell you the team with Steph Curry is probably going to win that shootout. So the Raptors need to tighten up defensively. We know that Fred VanVleet is very good at guarding Steph Curry, so hopefully he brings that to the game, but the Raptors are in for a tough battle against these Warriors who are starting to heat up. They're starting to heat up. They're starting to find their chemistry, starting to find their rhythm. The Raptors need to be better than they played in this game if they want to win that game as well. Again, the bottom line of this game is that the Raptors got the win. And even though it wasn't the prettiest of wins, they got the win. And hopefully they can use this momentum and move on and try to put some wins, get some wins in a row, and we can get back up to 500 as soon as possible. What did you guys make of this game? How do you think the Raptors played, and who individually stuck out to you in this game? Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Obviously, a lot of great performances, but the ones that stick out to me, the ones that are most important to me are Siakam and Malachi Flynn. But let me know everything you have to say down below. But that wraps up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, please like the video if you like, and subscribe to Amateur Sports for more content just like this. Like I said, NBA content with a focus on the Raptors at least 4 days a week. This is the last time I will be in this studio for a little while, going back to the other studio for the video that will be out Monday regarding the Golden State Warriors game. Hopefully you're there for that Raptors roundup, but let's go Raptors, get that win against the Golden State Warriors. At the end of the day, I believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.